Thank you for watching. I'm John Razimus. In this video, I'm going to be giving a lecture on demons, specifically the three main types of demons that exist. I didn't gather this information from any known source known to man. This is from first-hand encounters I have personally had with demonic entities. I understand there are atheists out there that are going to mock even the concept of a lecture on what they consider to be a non-existent entity, a fantasy creature, some type of mythological fairy tale. That is understandable if you've never had any exposure to a spiritual entity, to a spirit, to a ghost, to an angel, to a demon. But after you've firsthand had an encounter with a demonic entity, which I have had more than a few times, the realm of them being fantasy or fictional or part of the subconscious or the mind flies out the window. Most definitely you can still apply the angel and demon as a subconscious metaphor. But beyond the metaphors of the subconscious, there are actual independent, intelligent entities commonly referred to as demons. And don't give me the definition of the word demon and you go back and it used to mean wise ones or some philosophical rant that goes into the realm of agnosticism and twists and atheism and comes out the other end gibberish. Because the fact of the matter is, when you have first-hand encounters with these entities, you're no longer talking about theoretical and philosophical concepts. You're talking about literal, this happened to me, this entity's intelligent. This entity is independent of myself. I sent out a tweet a couple days ago where I said there are three main types of demons. And there are three main types of humans. But I'm going to focus on the demons. As a human, I'm sure you're going to be familiar with the different types of humans out there. But demons, not so much. I purchased this whiteboard for the exclusive purpose of this lecture. This channel has always been under the educational categorization. And it's educational. If you have the time, sit back, relax, and learn a few things about demons from someone that firsthand has encountered demons. I don't do this for jokes. I don't do this for clickbait. I don't do this for laughs. Evil people do it for laughs. Evil people do it for clickbait. Evil, ignorant people do it for manipulation, or they have an angle. I have no angle. There is zero angle taking place other than I witnessed something, I experienced something enough times where I can see the different categories unfold. And this unfolding isn't something whispering in my ear. By the way, there's three different categories of demons. No, this is, in 2010, I witnessed, as I have said, a high-ranking demon. How do I know it was high-ranking? Because the entity demonstrated abilities other entities I've encountered have never demonstrated. I'm going to elaborately talk about that in my book, Corners of Rooms. I am writing, but before the book, I plan on getting a pamphlet out there, a pamphlet book. It'll be thicker than a pamphlet, but it's going to be stapled together. And it's going to be about ghost hunting. 4 ghost hunters by someone that didn't start as a ghost hunter, and really I have no desire to hunt ghosts. I'm going to rewrite it, add a few more chapters, and it will be substantial, but it's not going to contain these three main types of demons, because ghost hunters are a little they're a little scared of the word demon. They're a little scared of the reality of demons. They like to think of every spirit as just a friendly Casper or a friendly dead person that's hanging out after their death. I have a lot of thoughts on that, but let's get to the three main types of demons. The first type of demon is the landlocked variety. This type of demon haunts a house, a field, because it has no choice. Or does it? I can tell you this. They've been assigned to this plot of land, this principality, this area of specific lines that only they know the borders where they exactly lay. Where you go to a haunted location, famously haunted for hundreds of years, say the Winchester Mystery House. I went to the Winchester Mystery House. It's authentically haunted. I walked through an entranceway area which felt like I was walking through a demonic entity. Extremely creepy vibes. So why, after 100+ years, has this entity chosen to hang out at the Winchester Mystery House? It seemed almost like it was its job to do so. Like it was part of its duty to haunt this house. A psychic inspired Sarah Winchester to go out west. In San Jose, she bought a farmhouse, and for 40 years of continuous construction or more, perhaps she was guided to an area that already had a landlocked demon there. That's speculation, but I can tell you one thing. If a castle is known to be haunted for 1,000 years straight, there's most definitely a landlocked demon there. And there are demons of the field and demons of the forest. Landlocked demons, I've noticed, prefer buildings. They prefer to occupy buildings like humans. But if there's no building there, and it's just a forest or it's just a field, and they're assigned to that plot of land, they're locked there. They can't go anywhere. Now, what would be the incentive if they could go? What would be the incentive? I think if a demonic entity is landlocked, we can rationally think of different reasons why. I think the most logical, other than them being assigned there from their superiors and them having strict, perfect obedience to their chain of command, would be perhaps they've been promised that that piece of land is theirs forever. It's the only motivation I can think of why a spirit would want to hang out on a plot of land for 10,000 years, 20,000 years, 1,000,000 years. The same plot of land. Whether a house is built there or demolished doesn't matter. I read a story about a poltergeist whose house burnt down, and the journalists, if you will, were mourning, oh, what's to happen? What will be of the poltergeist? If it's a landlocked poltergeist demon, it's still there, where that house was. It doesn't matter if it's destroyed. But demons do love houses, and they will pick favorite rooms. They will pick favorite corners of rooms. The documentary Demon House by Zach Bagans, the lead investigator of the Ghost Adventures TV show, he purchased a house, a demon house, famously haunted, and he had it destroyed. Perhaps there's different motivations and reasons why he had it destroyed, but if it was a landlocked demon, it's still in the area. And they say that devil worshippers and kids of that inclination and whatnot still go to the plot of land where the house was. Perhaps there's a portal there. So perhaps activity could be captured if it was a landlocked demon. If it was not a landlocked demon, then perhaps not. But hauntings at locations consistently over many periods of time are an example of landlocked demons. It doesn't fit on the whiteboard too much, but the second type of demonic entity on the list of the three main types of demons are familiar spirits. The Bible mentions vaguely, briefly, scatteringly, fleetingly to not consort with familiar spirits, and it says something about familiar spirits here and there. So it's understandable that Bible adherents, Bible believers, Bible readers, and even those against the Bible detractors, it's understandable everyone involved, all involved, are very ignorant on the subject of what is a familiar spirit. I can tell you the commandment, don't consort with familiar spirits, is wise indeed. It is wise guidance and counsel. I strictly adhere to it because familiar spirits, a type of demon, they're there to tempt you down the wrong path. Whether you think it's psychological or literal, there's a literal version of a familiar spirit. Witches, warlocks, wizards, there's a fairy tale version of a familiar. It's called a familiar, and it's usually a black cat or an owl, like Merlin's owl, Harry Potter's owl, a black cat of a witch, there's a frog, whatever the case may be. And the witch, or the wizard, they, with the help of the owl or the black cat, or whatever the animal may be, it helps them protect them, or perhaps helps them conduct magical rituals. And maybe there's a more obscure version where a demon spirit or any type of spirit possesses that animal and becomes a familiar, but that's not the familiar on the category of the three main types of demons. A familiar spirit, and this is a little bit of a scary subject, but it's true, so I am compelled to mention it. This is from first-hand experience, first-hand knowledge I have gained over the years. Familiar spirits are demons assigned to every single human being from birth to death. Pretty scary. Not fun subject to even think about. It is the literal component, the literal version, if you will, of the demon on the shoulders whispering temptations. There's a literal demon hanging around every single human from birth to death. You have one, I have one. Whether you believe in Scripture or not, I highly, greatly recommend you do not ever try to communicate with your familiar. So I understand this information might backfire, and now that people know that they have a familiar, they might try it, but I do not recommend it. In the entity case, an entity followed a lady, tried to kill her on the freeway, tried to kill her in her house. Who knows what led up to that? I think there's always going to be secrets concerning extreme hauntings. Some might start with a Ouija board, like the Exorcist story. Some might start by innocently talking to your invisible friend over here. And perhaps children who are more open to the unseen world might have a little bit of a glimpse of their familiar spirit. As an adult, it's going to be completely invisible. But I definitely have seen enough evidence to know I have a familiar spirit and that everyone has one. Aleister Crowley, the magician, sought to communicate with his guardian angel his whole life. But I guarantee, if he communicated with anything, it was most likely his familiar spirit who followed him 24/7. Not only are they assigned from birth to death, they follow you wherever you go. It is their job, kind of like a landlocked demon, to stay at that plot of land for infinity. This familiar spirit is under the chain of command to follow you your whole life, A to Z, until you're dead. That's the only time when this familiar spirit is free, perhaps assigned to a new baby. And then we get to the third category, but there is a second type of familiar spirit I will talk about in the third type of main demon. This is the third type of demon, free roaming. In the human world, having the ability to freely fly to New York, Tokyo, Bangladesh, Shanghai, Seattle, Los Angeles, Might seem like it's just a businessman. Even a stewardess gets to fly around a lot. So in the human world, having the ability to fly around a lot, go around to a lot of different places, isn't as prestigious as it is in the demon world. Because in the demon world, there's a lot of landlocked demons that can't go anywhere, even if they wanted to. They've almost signed a contract to stay in this plot of land for infinity. Familiar spirits have almost signed up, if you will, or been assigned to follow humans for infinity. So they can only go where the human they're assigned to goes, and landlocked can't go anywhere, perhaps with the promise that land is theirs in the future. But free-roaming demons are the high-ranking ones. We're talking the top dog, the big L, big S, whatever you want to call him, is clearly a free-roaming, high-ranking, can go wherever he wants. His generals, his leaders, commanders who command these posts, they're free-roaming. They can go wherever they want. They can do whatever they want. On top of being high-ranking and free-roaming, being able to do whatever they want, and you can think of humans. What humans have this ability? Humans that have the ability to do whatever they want, they're most definitely being followed by a familiar, but if they're influential enough, they are also sporadically being followed by one of the higher-ranking demons, the free-roaming ones. As I was going to say, in addition to being free-roaming, these are prestigious, high-ranking demons. They have their own imps, their own familiar spirits following them, but of a different type. A free-roaming, high-ranking demon, for example, might have 1,000 familiar spirits following them. And at any time, at any moment, that high-ranking, free-roaming demon can assign their familiars to humans. So not only is a human going to be bombarded by the temptation and harassment of a familiar spirit all their lives, but if a free-roaming, high-ranking demon doesn't like you, or maybe if they do like you, it's really hard to say why they would use it. They could use it for many different reasons, many different purposes. But I could tell you in my case, in the year 2010, a free-roaming, high-ranking demon that portrayed different abilities I've ever seen from other entities. It felt like 1,000, I'm almost giving too much away. It felt like 1,000 demons. It felt like 1,000 spirits walked through my body. Almost right after or simultaneously with this high-ranking demon. And then 6 months later, in the year 2011, I've talked about this at great length. Watch my many videos. I've talked about the subject if you want to learn more. 6 months after the incident of the high-ranking demon revealing itself to me, so I had an encounter where I acknowledged its existence. It clearly acknowledged my existence. I thought it was a one-time thing and out of the blue, and who do I talk to about this? No one's going to believe me. So 6 months later, I experienced, and just coincidentally is 6 months also, but it's closer to 5.5 months of poltergeist activity continuously every single day. I always do an example of what it did, but we're talking 10 to 20 times a day, more like a night. 10 to 20 times a day, a night, when I was there. So I don't know what it did when I wasn't there. But 10 to 20 times a day from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. The poltergeist that haunted my room that I got on Craigslist for about $400, I would just be chilling and he would do stuff like this. 5 to 10 times a day. Randomly knock over stuff violently. And after 5.5 months of enduring this, you tend to have a few minutes to think about it. Unless you're a mind-numbingly, let's say, of the less inclined to intellectualize anything in your life, and you just you just fade away and numb away, and maybe you drink, maybe you try to escape. But that's not me. I don't drink. After you've experienced 5.5 months of poltergeist activity, 10 to 20 times every single day, night, you tend to think, where did this entity come from? And I thought back and I'm like, yeah, that high-ranking demon that appeared probably assigned this poltergeist to me. And the poltergeist, after really jogging my memory, I remember it stepped on my green screen. And then it stepped on it again in the same position and stepped on it again in the same position. Like it almost stacked on top of itself. And I'm leaning to the conclusion that there was probably 2 or 3 demonic entities that almost stack on top of themselves to have the ability to move objects, become a poltergeist demon. And they were assigned to me from the high-ranking free-roaming demon in 2010. This is all out there from someone that hasn't experienced it firsthand. But these are the 3 main types of demons. And the free-roaming has a different type of familiar spirit that follows them. So each free-roaming demon might have 1,000 familiars, maybe 10,000. I don't know what the numbers are. Legion familiar spirits is what I would call them. These are the 3 main types of demons: landlocked familiar spirits, free-roaming spirits with their legions that follow them. This is a literal truth. I share this truth with the world because the world is extremely, vastly ignorant on the subject. So next time you see that story about that haunted house that you've been hearing about for many years, consider the possibility that it's not the human that used to occupy it. That it has nothing to do with the human of that location. That it's a landlocked demon that was promised that land. Perhaps is the greatest motivation I can think of. And when you have a temptation or have something odd happen to you on a regular basis, consider the possibility. When you go to sleep at night, when you wake up in the morning, I've noticed enough signs of evidences that I too have a familiar spirit that follows me 24/7. As far as the free-roaming, high-ranking demons, they do what they want, although they are under a chain of command, but they are the command. What are their plans? What are their goals? A lot of their plans and goals rely around the landlocked and the familiar spirit structure they've set up. They probably don't want me to share this information, but I wouldn't be surprised if this video gets 10 views and is like stuck. 20 views, stuck. I really don't care about views. Even if it reaches 1 person and they go, you know what, yeah, maybe. Even if it reaches 1 person, they're like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna consort with that extraterrestrial from another planet that's been trying to make me an ambassador. Maybe, just maybe, that's a familiar spirit taking advantage of me. And believe it or not, scenarios like that exist, where familiar spirits, or maybe someone that lives in a location with a landlocked spirit, wants to start a dialogue. In modern times, the past 50 years, the most common dialogue between demons and humans has usually involved something to the extent of, hey, I'm an extraterrestrial from Venus or Saturn or Jupiter, Neptune, Alpha Centauri. I'm from the Pleiades. You want to be my ambassador, or do you want to learn more about my species? UFO researchers have come across examples of aliens talking to people saying they're from Mars. Back in the 1950s, 1960s. Clearly we know there are no aliens on Mars, intelligent enough to hold an invisible conversation with a human. But guess who can invisibly hold a conversation with a human. A familiar spirit, a landlocked spirit, even a free-roaming spirit, if the human is influential enough. I would say the high-ranking demons, they don't bother with small fry nobodies. So the high-ranking demon that did bother with me, it just bothered with me for a few minutes. And then 6 months down the road, assigned some of its legion familiars to me. So at one point in time, I might have had 4 familiar spirits, which I would classify as imp-type demons. They're small, but in greater numbers are extremely terrifying. But the fear and the terror goes away when you're familiar with the subject. I was at an 1820s house not too long ago, looking for evidence. I'm going to release this video after I go back and try to get more evidence, because with the Ghost Adventures guys getting tons of evidence, and I'm just a YouTube channel, but if I get no evidence, it looks weak. I want to get something. But I did witness poltergeist activity in the dry grass, like crunching footsteps right in front of me. After analyzing and analyzing and analyzing the footage, I notice my camera swayed a little bit. At the same time, violent movements of this dry, dead wheatgrass moved in front of me. I was still. I was dead still, silently still. So none of the movement of any grass was from me. It was from an entity. And I realized it might have been trying to grab my camera and shake it, because my camera's movement lines up with this movement in the dry grass. It's going to be hard to prove and explain, hey, by the way, that wasn't me. That was a poltergeist. So that's why I have to go back. I'm going to set up a tripod, another camera. I bought a few more audio pieces of equipment to try to get EVPs. Mysterialis, Ghost X, ghost hunting, but ghost hunting more in the context of Google search results. I don't hunt ghosts. I try to collect evidence of them and leave them be, which I hope they will leave me be. And I try to be more polite, but when you've been harassed by a poltergeist for 6 months, there is shell shock, where you will be like, ah. And I was kind of rude to the poltergeist at this 1820s house in California, 20 minutes from the coast. It's actually a famous house that a pirate built, or an ex-pirate built. You will see more about that video in the future. If you have any questions or comments on the 3 main types of demons, feel free to leave a comment. If you'd like to support this channel, I have a new store with new t-shirts I designed. New t-shirt designs will appear all the time, as I find it fun to design t-shirts. All of these t-shirt designs are original. Mysterialis, Ghost X, Ghost Investigations, is the brand I will be focusing on, both t-shirt-wise and show-wise. That's the name of the new Ghost Investigation show. Mysterialis, Ghost X. Ghost X, who is this ghost? We don't know. It's a mystery. But if you go back to a haunted location over and over and over, perhaps you can discover attributes. The way the spirit reacts and acts, you can perhaps prove, at least to yourself, that it's the same entity that you noticed the first time you went there. There are tiny, tiny ways to learn these pieces of information I've gathered over the years. You have to almost just think about it from the perspective of these entities are real. These dimensions stacked above us are real. If you reject all that, this is just fantasy, and I am curious why you're watching. I guess someone that disbelieves would still be interested in the subject from a different perspective. I think even some fictional authors check out my videos for ideas on their books, but this is reality. It's kind of like the movie Men in Black. Will Smith's character first discovers aliens exist. I suppose you could have a parallel, except the fact of the matter is, I already knew spirits existed before the high-ranking demon appeared to me. And it might be one of the reasons why it appeared to me, because I already knew spirits existed. But someone else out there, I can see them having a Will Smith and Men in Black moment, where they're like, what? Spirits are real? This is the reality of the universe? You're not crazy. Spirits are real. Ghosts are real. Demons are real. And I'm sure angels are real as well. I would personally say I think and I believe angels exist, but I've seen the least amount of evidence from angels for the reason that angels strictly follow the rules and guidelines of help these humans, but don't let the humans know you helped them. Whereas demons, they don't follow such guidelines, and they do for laughs, like an evil human. For laughs, they will jump out and scare you occasionally. To me, the entity that jumped out to scare me didn't scare me. So I think it's the poltergeists, the intelligent entities, scare tactic backfired a little bit, as I wasn't scared when it jumped out. Stay tuned. I thank you for watching. More lectures coming soon, but more investigation videos coming soon. Check out my t-shirt page, Mysterialis, Ghost X, t-shirts on my Teespring page. You'll see the link in the description. You'll see the link on my Twitter page, youtube.com/hoaxhunter. You will see the link right there. Twitter.com/Razimus. You'll see the link in the bio. I thank you for your support. I thank you for watching. Until next time, this has been John Razimus. Be seeing you.